You are watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Hi and welcome. I'm Ann Perry, founder of Business Heroine, and today we are speaking with Ute Lambrecht. Now, Ute is an amazing, beautiful entrepreneur, and her story I think you're going to find very fascinating, and you're going to really relate to this because it was just in 2013, Ute had had enough of sitting on the fence trying to find her life's purpose, and so she just decided on one. And after clarifying what she deeply desired in her life, which is to be free both in expressing herself authentically as well as financially free, she decided to make it her life's purpose to live in a world where everyone enjoys this freedom. So, with a background in project management, Ute developed her own methodology of turning ideas into reality, and she's now applying the same methodology to her purpose in life. And the first venture born out of this path is called Mastermind Hub, which we're going to learn about in a little bit. It's the mastermind dating site for entrepreneurs. Super cool. So Ute currently lives in Wellington, New Zealand. She's been all over the world, and so she's self-proclaimed confused enough to now consider herself a global citizen. So welcome, Ute. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Anne. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah. So, all right. So you have called yourself an all-arounder. You know, you were talking about you struggled with your life purpose and struggled with finding that one little niche to fit yourself into, which is, you know, a lot of business knowledge we hear is fit yourself into this niche. But that wasn't fitting for you. So tell us about your journey.
I'm really good at many things and have a wide range of interests. I'm actually quite a creative person, and I've also got a very mathematical mind. So I started out as a fashion designer and also did computer science. So it's like two different worlds, right? And for as long as I can think of, I've always been trying to find that one life purpose that was meant for me to really shine, and it never happened. And I always thought that maybe an idea will come and that'll be it, and I was waiting. And it just, one day, you know, what actually happened in 2013 was that someone came up with this idea of what are the words that you would really like to experience in the year of 2013, and that sort of triggered something in me. So instead of looking at finding something that is sort of tangible like a business, look at that feeling that you really want to feel and that bring into that year. Mm-hmm. And the two words that resonated really strong with me were freedom and authenticity. And what was interesting is because I've sort of narrowed it down to that, it popped up the whole time and it became my mantra. So every time I wanted to uplift myself, every time I thought of the future, I thought of freedom, you know, what it would feel like to be free and really authentic. And so that's where my project management sort of background came in, because during my time as a project manager, I developed my own methodology where normally with project management, it's very process driven. So in other words, do this, do that, and then you have an outcome. And that works for small projects and small things that are methodical, right? But for big projects, it's usually an incredibly stressful process because no project is the same. Mm-hmm. And the same with life, your life. It's not, everyone's different. And so my methodology is to actually align with the vision, to focus on the vision of what you want. And I suddenly had this vision. I had this freedom and authenticity. And so one day I just thought, what if I make that my vision and use my methodology to move towards it. Because once I'm aligned, it's like, do you know the modems in the past where you sort of dialed in, the dial-in modems where it sort of had this strange noise and suddenly it clicked, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it feels when I click a vision, when I'm like, it's like my body really gets it. And that's how I have this vision of this free and authentic life. And so once I have that in my project methodology, I actually know exactly each little step I need to take. I don't need to know the big plan. I just know that I'm guided. And if I follow through, and that's the big thing, you have to take action. But the action steps don't have to be huge. It's tiny things that get you there, that move you in the right direction. And that's what I've now decided. That's how I'm going to move forward. And then I realized I can never be unless everyone else is free as well. Doesn't work for me, and so I thought, wow, what about me actually bringing this into the world? And so that's how I said, okay, I'll make that my life purpose.
Yeah, Ute, that's so fascinating, because I know when we were speaking offline before, you shared with me that it's like you found that you were thinking so small by trying to squish yourself into this niche. And it sounds like almost by opening up to these very broad concepts of authentic and freedom, it actually brought you to that specificity. And now you have this focus for what you do. Yeah. So it's just, I know
it's sort of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But really when, what I have noticed is that when you think outside of the box, or you want to broaden your perspective, when you think huge, like humongously huge, your mind stops. Your mind can't even comprehend that. Your ego, your mind, that part of you that sort of says, no, you can't do that, and suddenly, because it's sort of so stumped, you get this, oh, I could do this and I could do that. And you get new ideas that you never would have thought of, because we are so trained to think in little, boxes. And so for me, this, having this really broad vision has really focused me, which is so weird, but it's that's for me so exciting. And the thought of living in a world where everyone experiences freedom and is allowed to express themselves freely, their unique gifts and talents, it still excites me beyond anything. It just immediately lights me up, and it's like, wow, that would be just so great.
Yeah.
And so even if my purpose, I'm okay with it if all I am is just a beacon that holds that vision. I'll feel good about it, because as I feel great about it, and that's actually what we want when we are in our life purpose, is to feel good. That's actually where we want to, go to. So
I love that perspective. It's like you just bypassed the mind and went straight to the spirit.
Yes.
So brilliant.
Yes.
So cool. I've never heard it put that way before. I've never really, we know the value of thinking big, but
yes,
the way that you describe that, it's just really connecting in a new way for me. That's awesome.
And it's also maybe not thinking bigger, but thinking so big and looking down, rather than, it's like this feeling of, you normally make, say, 50,000 a year, and now let's make 100,000. That's not big for me. But, but so it's actually, it's from the top down. What if you owned the world? What would you do?
That's so cool.
I mean, it's so weird, but it immediately makes you think totally differently.
Yeah.
So, and it sort of fits into my business idea, because it's a new idea is so delicious. Mm-hmm. It's when you have this new idea, it's for me, it's just wow, It really does something to your system when you get a new perspective that is bigger than where you were before, a moment before. So,
and I want to ask you about this, and I just want to recap one thing. So for all of us listening, all the business heroines tuning in here, let's ask ourselves that question. If you owned the world, what would you do? Yes. I love that. That's so cool. So Ute, you talked about a methodology.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure we really understand that. What do you mean by your methodology, and how are you applying it to your life's purpose?
Okay. So in project management, there is this thing that you have a methodology. It's what they call it, and maybe it's too techy a word, but it's what I call it. And it's usually very process driven. So you do number 1, then number 2, and then number 3. But if you deal with big projects, that just doesn't work, because every big project and also every person and life purpose is different. And so what I've done is align with that vision I believe in, and if it's a project, align with the outcome, the vision of that project. If it's a business, align with that outcome that you want to see in the world. And when that's like really clear within you, then every day you just know it just comes to you what to do. And what I've really found is we often think, oh, we have to do these big steps. And they are really not. I've noticed it's listening to people and getting a sense, I need to focus on that. And in a way, it's like your vision is there and the project goes, it's like a flight that constantly has to go back into the flight path. An airplane is never on target. It's constantly going off target and you're constantly bringing it back. But it's not like you have to go all the way on that side. You immediately notice, I'm a little bit off here. And you're just constantly bringing it back. And because I've trained myself now to really recognize these things, I know that if I don't do that little action, it's going to go off. So I'd rather do that little action and bring it back into alignment so that we're moving forward. And it has been so helpful in my project management career. And that's where I thought, why don't I apply that to my life purpose and see what happens? Now I'm still quite early, in this process. I haven't achieved totally the freedom that I wish for myself, but I'm actually blogging about it, and as I go, and it's amazing. It feels, and my business idea also came about, because of that. So
yeah, isn't that amazing how these things in our past, like experienced as a project manager, it's all of a sudden applies in a whole new way. So we think, maybe at the time we're like, this isn't what I want to do with my life or whatever, and then we realize, it's part of the bigger picture.
That's it. Absolutely.
So I would love to hear about this business idea you're speaking of. You have launched Mastermind Hub. So tell us, for those who don't know what a mastermind is, what is a mastermind? And then how did your particular business idea come to you, Mastermind Hub?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll answer the last question maybe first. Okay. Let's answer the last question first. So last year, as I said, I said, this is it. I'm going to go down a different path. And I joined a program where you learned how to do online business, because that's actually what feels so really right for me. And but I was alone, and I don't know people in my immediate environment who actually are entrepreneurs. So I hooked up with another entrepreneur, just one other person, and we had our mastermind where we came together in a meeting and we discussed our businesses. So, and whilst I was doing that, after one of those sessions, I felt so energized. It's like someone else is focusing their attention onto your business issue and bringing a totally different perspective. And suddenly new ideas arrive. And that's also what I consider a mastermind to be. It's when you throw ideas around, you know, one person has this perspective, another one comes with something else, and suddenly you get this new, wow, that's exactly what I want to do. And most probably everyone's business idea arrived through that type of a discussion. Mm-hmm. And what you tap into is actually the mastermind of all those present at that moment. So for me, that is just such a magical experience. And so I decided, you know I wanted to bring forth my methodology as my business idea, but I thought, let's percolate that one a little bit longer. And I thought I want to have others experience the same thing. And so the Mastermind Hub was born out of that. So
I love it. And, you know, recently I heard this analogy for a mastermind, which I think is so genius. Let's say there are 5 of us and we each give each other $1. Well, then we just end up with $1. Like, you know, this dollar goes around. Okay, well, I had $1. I gave $1. I received $1. I still have $1. Yes. But if the 5 people each gave each other an idea, now you have 5 ideas.
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
So tell us about Mastermind Hub, because it's a dating site for entrepreneurs, which I think is so clever. Tell us what you mean by that.
So a Mastermind Hub is a place where you go in as an entrepreneur and find others to mastermind with. And the type of mastermind I'm talking about is a very small group. So I would say, 5-6 people is sort of the ideal group, so that everyone actually has a turn to discuss their current issues or new ideas, and has the whole focus of all of the members on them. Mm-hmm. And if you have too many people, not everyone gets that, and everyone gets tired after a while. So 5 and 6 that's actually a really good number. And so the Mastermind Hub is not another Facebook group. So I really try to make very sure that the productivity is not dropped by going into the Mastermind Hub, because you tend to Facebook can really be a drain on your productivity. Mm-hmm. I think most entrepreneurs have experienced that. Yeah. So this is really go in, fill in a profile of who you are as a person. And that's why I say it's a dating site rather than the goods you sell, because people want to mastermind with you and not with your offerings. And then either create a group or join a group, and there are the Mastermind Hub has a lot of quite powerful search engines, so that it's not just type in a name and try to find something. There are a lot of fields you can filter on to actually find something that's really suitable for you. So the idea is get in and then get out of and meet offline via Skype, even virtually or even physically. So
I love that. What an awesome gift for the world. I'm so glad that you created that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope it's going to, and it's so in alignment with what I want to do, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, the authenticity, it's like we want to mastermind with a person, not with their offerings. Yes. And that authenticity piece, and then the freedom of, what becomes possible when people collaborate and mastermind. It's so important, because so many entrepreneurs just really are kind of lonely, trying to figure it out on their own, and they're
Yes.
working in their own home office, or maybe they're still in a job, but it's like everyone around them doesn't have that entrepreneur mindset. And it can be very lonely. So it's really important to
Yeah.
collaborate and mastermind with people who are on the same path as you.
Yeah, and I had that same experience, the isolation and sort of having to reinvent everything myself. And so when you mastermind with others, you share that, and you can actually support each other, and everyone has their skill and has figured something out,
Yes.
and together you just grow much faster to a new level.
Totally.
So,
So we can't see what we can't see, but
That's
someone
it.
else can see it, and then all of a sudden that block is
Yeah.
gone. That could have kept
That's
us
it.
stuck for years.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mm.
So now creative people, there's a lot of times entrepreneurs are really creative or right-brained, and so sometimes when somebody's really creative, they can have difficulty with the structure that's typically associated with a mastermind. How can you provide them with a different perspective?
So, and this comes sort of back from my past as a project manager. I've been working really deliberately with feminine and masculine energy. And what I mean with that is the essence of the masculine is structure, and the essence of the feminine is power. Now, I know it sounds a bit, so I'll give you an analogy which really explains this. So electricity is considered power in many countries, right? So electricity on its own is often untapped. It doesn't really do much, and it's also can be quite dangerous, right? It just is a potential in a way. Structure on its own is without the electricity can be dead space. Like if you have a toaster that's just sitting there and not plugged in, it doesn't do anything. But when you plug in, when you bring both of them together, that's when you can create something that's like warm toast. You know, it's like really something you want. And what defines the outcome is the intention of the structure. So if you have a life-enhancing structure, that will have a different outcome than something that destroys the planet, or that is a destructive one. And so when you bring that back into a mastermind setting, the members of a mastermind, that's the power. And the structure is the format of the mastermind meeting, when you meet, what the purpose is. But the intention underneath, the clarity of why you're there, is in your control. And when you clarify that intention, you can create a safe container in that structure to hold the power. And every woman knows this. We love being contained by the men in our lives, right? That's exactly what, but you have the power within you to make that intention. So it's not, something that's put on top of you,
Right,
that you're forced into.
Right. That is the coolest analogy ever. The power of electricity and the structure for electricity, and structure on its own, dead space. Electricity on its own could just be wily and dangerous.
Yes.
So utilizing the best of both to create real, true, powerful, potent, accelerated awesomeness. That's really cool. I have a feeling I'll be repeating that analogy all over the place. I love it. So do you have any useful hints when people are choosing others to mastermind with? Like, how do you know who to mastermind with? So, as I said, your intention of why you're joining needs to be clear. So, for instance, you could join because you want to speak with other entrepreneurs on your strategic vision, like when you want to check new ideas. And that's a strategic type of mastermind. And in that type of mastermind, you would like to choose people who are different from you, because you have a different background, still have a similar sort of outlook on life.
for me, for instance, heart-centeredness, that's important. For me, that's sort of where I need to connect with people who are also heart-centered rather than just out to make money. That's just, but there's no judgment.
Yeah.
It's really just me personally like that. And, so for that strategic type of mastermind, you would want to choose people with different backgrounds and choose people who are more or less on the same level business-wise than you, because a person who has a high six-figure business has totally different things to deal with than someone who's actually just starting out. And, it won't work if you, don't, if you are too far apart. The other thing is there are many different masterminds you can create. You don't have to stick with one. If you, for instance, want to do a product launch, that's a very specific thing. And you might want to mastermind with others who are also wanting to do that at the same time and just deal with technology, the logistics, how do you set it up, and come together for a shorter time. It's not that long term, and come up with, a joint way of or just lessons learned, to get that information. So
Brilliant.
It's and the other thing is, as I said earlier, it's better to have a smaller group of, say, 5 to 6, because if you, the power of a mastermind is in the focus and the participation of every single one. It's not just one person talking and everyone sits back and sort of listens. It's really, everyone focusing on various people in turn. And after an hour, if everyone gets 10 minutes, an hour goes by very quickly, and you get tired, and you then don't give the focus you would love to give. So smaller groups is actually better, and not too small, otherwise you don't get the perspective. So it's that balance.
Yeah, 5 or 6, I agree. It's potent. Masterminding is a potent thing. I'm so impressed, and I'm so happy that you've created Mastermind Hub, and we're going to make sure that we have links to Mastermind Hub in the article here. And so I think is it free to join?
It's free to join, and also there are lots of hints and tips to make sure your mastermind is successful.
Brilliant.
I've created an agenda for the first meeting so that you tick off all the things that could lead you astray later. Things like, are we going to meet monthly? How are we going to rotate? Who is going to be the timekeeper, because you want to be on time, and things like that, and just agree on sort of the basic structure that works for everyone.
Yeah.
And because if you don't do that, it peters out the mastermind, and you just lose the power.
Yeah,
of
totally.
it.
I've had great masterminds, and I've had others that weren't so great, and it's like you said, it's just peters out or turns into social hour or something like that. So the structure really is very valuable.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. Ute, thank you so much for joining us today and enlightening us about masterminding. I know that the Business Heroines, one of the things that is the draw to Business Heroine is the community. It's not just a magazine. There's this community here. And so with what you're offering, what a cool thing for people to be able to reach out and find each other and mastermind with each other in an actual, structured way that propels everyone's business forward. Because we don't have to do business alone, and we shouldn't do business alone.
No.
We can't do business alone. It doesn't work. It only works for so long, and that's just the recipe for burnout. So
that's it.
It's really important what you're offering here. So thank you again, Ute. And it was just really great to connect with you and share you with our audience.
Thank you so much, Anne. I really enjoyed this interview. It was lovely.
Absolutely. So fun. All right. And thank
Thanks.
you, heroines, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
You have been watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.